12,500 feet beneath the Atlantic lies the answer to one of World War II's most enduring naval mysteries. On May 27, 1941, the German battleship Bismarck disappeared beneath the waves after the most intensive naval hunt in British history, taking 2,100 sailors with her and ending the brief but terrifying reign of Germany's surface fleet. For 48 years, the Bismarck's final moments remained one of the war's great unsolved questions, a ship that seemed invincible until she suddenly was not. But the wreck, discovered in 1989, revealed evidence that transforms our understanding of that May morning. The damage patterns do not match the accepted narrative of British guns overwhelming German armor. Instead, they tell a story of deliberate destruction from within, of choices made in the ship's final moments that history never recorded. What really happened aboard the pride of the Kriegsmarine that made her crew choose death over defeat? The answer lies in what the crew called Project Wotan, a secret compartment below the Bismarck's main armor deck containing experimental Fumo-23 radar equipment and captured British naval codes. This was not standard ship weaponry. These were prototypes of radar technology that could detect enemy vessels at 25 kilometers, twice the range of anything the Royal Navy possessed. The forensic evidence from the wreckage confirms what declassified Kriegsmarine documents only hinted at for decades. The Bismarck was not just a battleship. She was Germany's floating radar laboratory, carrying the future of naval warfare within her armored hull. Even more dangerous were the decoded British Admiralty ciphers that revealed convoy routes, escort patterns, and the exact positions of every Allied warship in the Atlantic. What made these ciphers so valuable was not just what they contained, but how they were obtained. The Bismarck carried one of only 3 Heimzueth und Rinke cipher machines, precursors to the advanced Enigma variants that would later prove crucial in the U-boat campaign. Admiral Gunther Lütjens, the fleet commander aboard Bismarck, understood the strategic calculus perfectly. If this technology fell into British hands, it would end Germany's submarine campaign overnight. The Allies would gain the ability to detect U-boats before they could approach convoys and would immediately change their naval codes, rendering months of German intelligence work useless. The crew's choice was not between life and death. It was between individual survival and watching their homeland starve under total naval blockade. Germany's already precarious food situation depended entirely on preventing Allied supplies from reaching Britain. Without effective submarine warfare, Germany faced certain defeat. Wreck analysis performed during the 1989 Ballard expedition confirms the scuttling charges were positioned specifically to destroy the radar compartment first, ensuring the technology died with the ship. The explosive damage pattern radiates outward from the specialized compartments below the armored deck, damage impossible to attribute to British shells that could not penetrate that deep. What the history books recorded as a heroic British victory was, in reality, a desperate German sacrifice to protect technological secrets that could determine the outcome of the Atlantic campaign. The transformation of Bismarck from battleship to technology platform began long before her fateful final voyage. In February 1940, as the massive warship neared completion at the Blohm & Voss shipyard in Hamburg, a special team of technicians from the Kriegsmarine's Nachrichten Versuchskommando, the Naval Communications Testing Command, arrived under cover of darkness. These were not ordinary naval engineers. They were Germany's elite radar scientists, led by Dr. Rudolf Kuhnhold, the father of German naval radar. Under his supervision, Bismarck received modifications that did not appear on any official blueprints: specialized compartments with electromagnetic shielding and independent power systems. By March 1940, installation of the experimental Fumo-23 radar began. This was not the standard Fumo-22 equipment found on other German capital ships. The Fumo-23 operated on a different frequency band that was virtually undetectable by British radio direction finding equipment. It could pick up British warships at ranges exceeding 25 kilometers while remaining electronically invisible. But the radar was only part of Project Wotan. In a compartment adjacent to the radar room, cryptologists installed a specialized version of the naval cipher unit. This equipment contained not just the German codes, but critically captured British naval cipher books recovered from HMS Seal, a British submarine forced to surface and captured intact in May 1940. The strategic situation grew increasingly desperate by April 1941. British convoys had begun implementing new cipher systems, threatening U-boat effectiveness. The German Naval High Command recognized that their window of advantage was closing. They needed the Bismarck to test their new radar technology in actual combat conditions, and if possible, capture updated British codebooks from any disabled vessels. On May 18, 1941, Bismarck departed Gdynia carrying technology crucial to the Atlantic campaign. Captain Ernst Lindemann received sealed orders explaining the dual purpose of Operation Rhine exercise: to disrupt British convoys and to protect the invaluable technological cargo. The mission balanced offensive goals with a singular concern for the shipboard technology. During the Bergen refueling stop on May 21, 1941, the crew was briefed on specialized scuttling protocols. Lieutenant Commander Adalbert Schneider, the ship's fire control officer, was specifically tasked with ensuring the destruction of the radar compartment if capture seemed imminent. Engineers installed additional scuttling charges around the Project Wotan facilities, charges that would later prove decisive. On May 23, in the Denmark Strait engagement with HMS Hood, the radar's devastating effectiveness became painfully clear. While the action was officially attributed to superior German gunnery, recently declassified documents indicate that the Fumemo 23 radar provided targeting data that allowed Bismarck to score a direct hit on Hood's magazine with only the fifth salvo, a level of accuracy unprecedented in naval warfare. Similarly, the subsequent engagement with HMS Prince of Wales demonstrated German superiority in range finding. What was not recorded in official battle reports was that Bismarck's radar operators were tracking the British battleship long before visual contact was possible, allowing optimal positioning for the engagement. By May 26th, fuel shortages forced Bismarck toward Brest, directly into the path of the British task force. Admiral Lutyens faced a terrible decision. He could attempt to reach friendly ports with his damaged vessel, or he could ensure the technology aboard never fell into enemy hands. His final communications with Berlin suggest he was already preparing for the latter possibility. At 8:47 in the morning on May 27, 1941, British battleships HMS King, George V, and HMS Rodney opened fire on the Bismarck. The German vessel, already damaged by a torpedo hit that had jammed her rudder, could not maneuver effectively to bring her main batteries to bear. By 9:02, a direct hit had destroyed Bismarck's main fire control director, severely limiting her ability to return accurate fire. But below decks, in the armored Project Wotan compartment, the radar technicians continued their work, not firing the guns, but methodically recording the electronic signatures of the British warships. Even in defeat, they were gathering intelligence. At 9:31, Bismarck's forward turrets were knocked out by concentrated British fire. With offensive capability severely reduced, Admiral Lutyens faced the inevitable conclusion. At 9:58, he issued the order that historians would debate for decades: activate emergency scuttling procedures. This was not a decision made in the heat of battle. Documents recovered from surviving German naval archives show that Lutyens had prepared specific instructions for this scenario days earlier. The technology aboard Bismarck was deemed more valuable than the ship itself, or even its crew. By 10:10, as British shells continued to pound the superstructure, German sailors began the systematic destruction of the radar and cipher equipment. First, they destroyed the encryption codebooks using specialized acid vials designed for rapid document destruction. Next, they dismantled key components of the Fumemo 23 radar, using thermite charges to render the equipment unrecognizable. At 10:25, as British shells continued to fall, engineering teams prepared the main scuttling charges throughout the vessel. They focused particular attention on the watertight compartments containing the Project Wotan equipment. These were not standard demolition charges. They were specialized thermite devices designed to melt through electronic components, ensuring nothing recoverable remained. By 10:36, with British ships closing for the kill, the final scuttling charges were detonated. Bismarck began her final plunge, not primarily from British shells, but from German determination to protect their technological secrets. The last radio transmission, sent at 10:40 and intercepted but not understood by British listening posts, reported simply, "Project Wotan destroyed as ordered." Hundreds of German sailors who might have survived as prisoners of war instead went down with their ship, a sacrifice demanded not by military honor, but by technological necessity. In the aftermath of the Bismarck sinking, both sides engaged in a coordinated campaign of historical misdirection. The British Admiralty trumpeted a complete victory, claiming their guns had sent the German battleship to the bottom. Prime Minister Churchill personally emphasized revenge, justice for the Hood and her lost sailors. What the British carefully concealed was their growing concern about German radar capabilities. Naval intelligence reports, declassified only in the 1990s, reveal that British officers who observed the Bismarck engagement were troubled by the German ship's ability to score hits at extreme ranges and in poor visibility. They suspected advanced radar, but had no way to confirm their fears. The German Naval High Command, for their part, maintained absolute silence about Project Wotan. They allowed and even encouraged the narrative that Bismarck had been overwhelmed by British firepower. That preserved the secret that the technology had been successfully protected through scuttling. In public memorials, 2,100 German families who lost sons aboard Bismarck were told their loved ones died in conventional combat. They never learned that many sailors had perished protecting naval secrets rather than from enemy action. The specialized radar technicians were listed simply as crew in official records, their expertise in sacrifice concealed even from their families. The strategic impact was immediate and profound. Without captured German radar examples, British naval radar development continued on its existing trajectory, while German U-boats retained their technological edge for nearly 2 additional years. The submarine campaign in the Atlantic reached its deadly peak in 1942, a peak that might never have occurred had Bismarck technology fallen into Allied hands. For 48 years, the truth lay hidden with the wreck, 12,500 feet beneath the Atlantic. Then, in September 1989, Dr. Robert Ballard expedition finally located the Bismarck. What they found contradicted the established historical narrative in profound ways. Initial surveys by remotely operated vehicles revealed damage patterns inconsistent with battleship artillery destruction. While the upper decks showed extensive shell damage, the armored hull below the waterline displayed clear evidence of internal explosions, the classic signature of scuttling charges rather than external attack. Subsequent detailed mapping of the wreck revealed specialized compartments on the engineering deck that did not appear on any published Bismarck blueprints. These compartments, heavily armored and now severely damaged from the inside out, bore telltale signs of housing electronic equipment. Metal fragments recovered from this area contained alloys specifically used in German radar components. The most revealing discovery came in 1991, when further exploration of the debris field uncovered fragments of what specialists identified as cipher equipment. The unique construction matched known examples of the specialized naval variants of German encryption devices, equipment that would have been priceless to British intelligence had it been captured intact. The final confirmation came with the post-Cold War declassification of both German and British naval archives. Documents from the Kriegsmarine Technical Division detailed the installation of the experimental FUMO-23 system aboard Bismarck, while British intelligence assessments from 1941 revealed their suspicions about advanced German radar capabilities that they could not confirm until much later in the war. These discoveries vindicated those who had long argued that the damage patterns on Bismarck were not consistent with the official narrative. The pride of the German fleet had not been simply overwhelmed by British firepower. She had been deliberately destroyed by her own crew to protect technologies that could have altered the course of the Atlantic campaign. Legacy remains complicated, and the story of those lost aboard Bismarck is now seen in a very different light. The revelation of Bismarck's true purpose and fate transforms our understanding of naval warfare during World War II. What appeared to be a conventional battleship action was actually a critical moment in the secret technological war, a war fought not with guns, but with radio waves, algorithms, and encryption keys. The real victory that day wasn't British or German. It was the primacy of technology over traditional naval power. Both sides understood that the future of warfare would belong not to those with the biggest ships, but to those who could see farther, communicate securely, and break their enemies' codes. The strategic sacrifice made by Bismarck's crew extended the German U-boat campaign by approximately 2 years. Without access to the FUMO-23 radar technology and updated cipher information, British anti-submarine efforts remained hampered until late 1943, when independent technological developments finally gave the Allies the upper hand. Modern naval operations continue to reflect the lessons learned from Bismarck's secret mission. Today's warships carry self-destruct systems specifically designed to protect classified technology, if capture is imminent, a direct legacy of Project Wotan's protocols. Naval planners recognize that preserving technological advantages often takes precedence over saving ships or even crews. As we reassess Bismarck's final battle, we must acknowledge both the technical brilliance and the moral complexity of these decisions. Over 2,100 German sailors died not just in combat, but in a deliberate technological sacrifice, a choice made not from fanaticism, but from a clear-eyed assessment of strategic necessity. The greatest naval hunt in history wasn't primarily about sinking a battleship. It was about controlling the invisible spectrum of information warfare that would define combat for the remainder of the 20th century and beyond. For more deep dives into the hidden technological wars behind history's greatest naval battles, subscribe to Ocean Attacks. What other legendary naval engagements concealed classified technology rather than just territorial control? Join us next week as we explore the technological secrets of the Battle of Midway and how code breaking changed the course of the Pacific War.